What's up, everybody? Let me know if you can hear me okay. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? As you all can see, I had to get a little bit creative with the name, man. Well, obviously, I'm pretty sure most of y'all know what I'm here to talk about. Pretty sure most of you all know what I'm here to talk about, but YouTube, they don't need to know what I'm trying to talk about for like another 3 or 4 more minutes. So, but we are live right now on both YouTube and Rockfin. Make sure y'all like this video. Make sure y'all share this video. Michael said, "What's for dinner?" I don't know. I did just have a breakfast burrito though, and it was scrumptious. Not gonna lie to you. It was absolutely scrumptious. My best friend's mom made it for me. So we got Check Rock Stars in the chat. We got We Need Critical Thinking. Lord, baby Jesus, I cannot. The amount of truth in that name right now of all times is ridiculous. It seems like all critical thinking just went out the window. I don't know what the hell happened from Ukraine to this situation, but here we are. Petra Wilson, that was an interesting statement to come in on. I'm assuming you're talking about the breakfast burritos. We have to give it about 1 more minute. Yeah, we gotta give it like 1 more minute. Or 2 more minutes, excuse me. Y'all forgive me. I don't know what the internet looks like right now. I'm not at my... Oops, those are my glasses. I need those. I'm not in my apartment right now. I'm at my best friend's house because I am traveling. So I don't actually have control over the internet. Hopefully it's good enough. It was okay. Excuse me. It was okay for the interview. So I'm hoping that it's good enough to get us through this stream. Sentient Dreamer, hello from Weird and Wild, Wyoming. I actually like Wyoming. I'm telling you, 2 states that I really like that everybody's always surprised about is Wyoming and Wisconsin. I love some Wisconsin, y'all. Named my taco, Niko, much love from the 2-6. And was good. Vicious Pixie. Thinking period went out the window. That is so sad and true. Myra, hi from South Africa. What's going on, Myra? Toothpick. You don't have to flip over to rock fan. That's why I changed the title and put Taylor Swift. Give it about one more minute. And I guess I'll give everybody an explanation as to what the hell, like, why I gave the title, why I made the title so obscure. And there's a picture of Taylor Swift. But I mean, obviously, it's always better to go over to rock fan, which we'll talk about in a second as well. Once again, make sure y'all like and share this video. I couldn't tag it the way I wanted to. I can't do none of that, man. I don't know if y'all heard, but YouTube got it locked down. They got it locked down. For real. People getting demonetized everywhere. It's wild. It's wild. So, thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream podcast For the People podcast. Of course, I am, as always, your humble host, Niko House. And I guess I do owe you all some explanations. Obviously, the reason that I made my title the way I made it, the reason that I have Taylor Swift in my thumbnail, and the reason that I effectively took 7 minutes to begin is because I learned from a friend that there's an AI that's basically being ran through YouTube. And what they do is they take the first 3 minutes of your video or your live stream and they listen for buzzwords such as Israel or Palestine, for example, or they look at your title or your thumbnail, and that's how they've been determining who they're going to demonetize and not demonetize and suspend and take down. As you all know already, Richard Medhurst got demonetized. I think his ban's permanent. Indie News Network, they got like a 3-month ban. As far as I know right now, I think RBN is good. I think they got a strike a little bit ago, but I think they're good. But, can't really count on that. There have been people being banned off of Twitter. Shadow ban. I got shadow banned. I don't know if y'all know. I don't know if y'all saw the news earlier today. I was shadow banned on Twitter. I posted the screenshot. If you try to search for my name, especially if you don't search my name often, but if you try to search for my name at Real Niko House, it won't show up. I did notice, like, out of nowhere that my impressions were damn near cut in half in the course of a week, although my retweets and likes that went up. I didn't really think too much of it at first, but then I started seeing other people saying that they had been shadow banned. And then Misty, y'all know Misty from TNT, she was saying that she got shadow banned and people couldn't search her name. And then my friend told me today that he couldn't find my name either. I was like, oh, hell no. So basically on Twitter, if I put something out, right, the people who are most likely to see it are probably people that follow me or follow directly somebody else that I follow. But it won't really get out in front of new eyes, which is like why even though I've been gaining followers I gained like usually between 15 and 17 or 1,500 and 2,000 new followers a month for like 6 months. And this month it was like stagnant basically. Just over the last 2 weeks, it was a huge change. And I assumed it was because, Israel-Palestine is somewhat of a controversial issue, although it shouldn't be, but it is. And I assumed, okay, whatever, that's cool. But then I realized that my impressions were down, but my retweets and likes were up. So that's how I found out, unfortunately. So talking about this particular issue seems to get one side shadow banned or demonetized or suspended. I don't know how many of you all follow me on Instagram. I got a lot of people on Instagram who you can do collaborations on Instagram, right? So if I post something and somebody that I work close with or a colleague of mine wants to share in that post and show it to their followers, you can collab, right? There are a lot of people, because of what they've shared on Instagram, they're getting banned. They can't collab. They can't do anything. Literally, one of my homeboys got a notification said, yeah, man, we're going to limit you to only your followers. So if your followers see you, it's all good. Other than that, good luck. So part of the reason I had to stream today, even though I was trying to avoid streaming on YouTube, but I had to stream today because I felt like it's important for people, if you happen to be on the side of Israel, right? Or more so, if you happen to be anti-Palestine, I hope you're paying attention to the patterns. And I hope that those patterns are helping you recognize that you're on the wrong side. As weird as that might sound to some of you. Because one of the reasons that people have gotten demonetized in the last year or so was because they were calling out Ukraine, right? They were calling out the war in Ukraine. They were calling out the neo-Nazism in Ukraine. People were getting banned for showing mainstream media articles of the coverage of Nazis in Ukraine. Hell, that happened to me. I got temporarily suspended off of Instagram because I reposted an article from CNN that just said what we had already known. Right? And obviously, if the mainstream media is working to censor you, the politicians who are pushing these conflicts, pushing for these wars, are cheering them on and empowering them to censor you. I feel like at this point, we should all kind of know that if you're getting censored, it's because you're on the right side. It's because you're telling the truth and covering the details that they don't want other people to know. I've seen so many people being censored on X. For all you Elon Musk cheerleaders out there, come on, bro. Are y'all still, is that y'all king? Are y'all still pretending like he's any different? And what's worse is he's not even saying anything about it. He's not even pretending. Like, bro, this is a man who is so damn thirsty for attention. This man responds to everything all the time. Anytime there's a controversy that involves Twitter or X, Elon Musk comes out and tries to save face. He hasn't even done that. Why do you think that is? Because he's not really in control. What's that bitch? Linda Yaccarino, the one that we all said, isn't this a WEF stooge who's super pro censorship? Why would Elon Musk hire her to be the CEO of X after claiming that he is supposed to be taking X or Twitter down a different path that is anti-censorship, pro-free speech, as he likes to refer, anti-woke or whatever? But instead, he brings on Linda Yaccarino, and when it comes to both the situation with Ukraine or the situation with Israel and Palestine, same thing. Censorship, shadow bans. Exactly what I expected. I mean, some people, once again, were caught off guard, but you're talking about the guy with all the Pentagon contracts. His bread, his money, his billions are directly tied into the military-industrial complex. And y'all thought that he was going to be different somehow? He wouldn't have been allowed to buy Twitter if he was going to be different than what the establishment wanted him to be. That's how it works. It's not a complicated formula. So before we even get into all the extra shit, before we even get into the lies, let's just look at the information that's getting censored. What's getting censored? I got, for example, I posted a picture that I got from Ben Shapiro's page that Ben Shapiro got from Bibi Netanyahu's official prime minister page. They threatened to suspend me if I don't take down the picture. But Ben Shapiro's post with that same picture goes viral. No punishment. Bibi Netanyahu's post obviously goes viral. No punishment, obviously. But Niko just reposts the exact same picture. And it's not like I said anything that was crude or wrong. I didn't cuss anybody out. I didn't malign anybody. I just told the truth about it. The only thing that was different was the wording attached to the picture. But they told me it was taken down because it was too violent, it was too gory, whatever. Had nothing to do with the wording, allegedly. But I mean, let's be honest, it probably had everything to do with the wording because I was calling out for bullshit. It was bullshit. That's what it was. That's what it was. Their framing was bullshit. Eva Bartlett has a bunch of primary source video in Palestine, in Gaza. She's been covering the Israel-Palestine conflict since before I was a journalist. All of it's taken down off of YouTube. Why? Why would you remove primary source material exposing what's happening in a conflict, an ongoing conflict, a conflict that has recently escalated, when there is so much hearsay, there is so much conjecture, speculation? Why would you remove one of the very few sources, one of the very few primary sources covering the conflict? Because they don't want actual coverage. What they want is propaganda pushed. And I said it before, and I'll say it again. If you are going to agree with Joe Biden, if you're going to agree with Nikki Haley, if you're going to agree with Kamala Harris, Fox News, CNN, Ben Shapiro, Benjamin Netanyahu, if you literally agree with all of them, at what point do you have to take a step back and be like, yo, bro, maybe I should rethink this position? Because anytime that all of them have agreed on something, anytime all of them have agreed on something, they're on the wrong side of history. It's not complicated arithmetic. So I just want, like, at this point, if you're a conservative, I mean, there's some liberals too, but like anyone who has a shred of moral consistency in ethics and claim to be ideologically consistent, when one side gets censored and the other side gets boosted, that's a pretty clear indication of which side you should be on. Do you remember how many people were censored for telling the truth about the war in Iraq? Like the war in Afghanistan? How many people were censored for telling the truth about the holes in our electoral system that everybody knew? It's not like we didn't know these holes existed. How many people got censored for telling the truth about Russiagate? How many people got censored for telling the truth about what happened in Syria, or what didn't happen, rather? It's not complicated arithmetic. True misinformation is not censored, it is boosted. The truth is most often what is censored, because it is very, very difficult to control a population if the truth is constantly getting in the way, right? So I want to show y'all this video that I did earlier today. We're going to talk about it, about one of the prisoners that got released from Hamas and how CNN decided they wanted to cover it versus or at least how they wanted to sell it versus how the story actually went. So let me pull this up for y'all. Mm-mm-mm.
So a prisoner was recently released by Hamas, and CNN purposely takes her story, mischaracterizes it, and then makes their headline, "I went through hell," completely ignoring the facts of the story when creating this propaganda-driven headline. Now, even though CNN tried to paint the prisoner's experience as being holistically bad, Lefshitz said that they were actually eating the same food as Hamas. She was also reassured that she wouldn't come under any harm, nor would the people who had been captured with her. They even made sure to group her with other people that she knew from her community. They even gave her a comfortable mattress to sleep on. And in addition to that, all 5 of the elderly people who had been captured were regularly attended to for their medical needs and had individual doctors assigned to them to make sure that everything is okay and that they would get out of the situation in good health. So CNN purposely ignored all of the context within that article and put that headline. And when she said that, she was actually referring to the day that the event happened on October 7th. Because, I mean, yeah, that's a traumatic experience. It probably did feel like she was going through hell. There's nothing wrong with saying that. So we know that the headlines like the one from CNN have tried to paint this picture that Hamas has treated these prisoners horribly. And we've seen it over and over and over again. But what's even more interesting is the headline that should have been. Like the fact that this captive blames the IDF for the situation even happening to begin with. But I bet that didn't get the wall-to-wall coverage that you were expecting. Now, don't get me wrong. Anytime innocent people are held captive as prisoners of war, that's something you want to see reconciled, and it's not something that we should make light of. But we have to talk about the skewed way that the media is covering the war, the disproportionate way that they favor Israel, the lies, the manipulation, the propaganda. All of it is being used to justify a genocide, like this portrayal of the war that seems to insinuate that the only ones who have been taken captive are Israelis who have been taken captive by Palestinians, when in fact 10,000 Palestinians have been taken captive by Israel, 5,000 of which were taken captive long before October 7th ever happened. We all know that the first casualty of war is the truth, but the only way that we can get down to the bottom of how we got here is if we hold everyone accountable and tell all the truth, especially the inconvenient and ugly ones.
So yeah, man. We're hold on, I'm echoing my own ear. Hold on. So basically, it CNN. There's been a lot of hostages that got released, and CNN decided that they were going to and that's not what happened. That's not what happened. So I'm gonna actually pull up this article. Oh, hold on, why am I again? I'm echoing in my own ear. Give me a second, y'all. Sorry, y'all. I'm echoing, and I don't know why. Y'all can't hear it. Okay, whatever. Anyway, so this is crazy because CNN actually went back. And it was right after I had finished this covering this story. They went back and actually changed the title. I guess because they got so much backlash. So let's check out what it says now. So this is what they changed it to. I went through hell and then put the caveat, released Hamas hostages describes being kidnapped and taken into the tunnel. This title alone would make you think that she was specifically talking about her time being kidnapped. Then, of course, if you actually read the article, that's not what's being discussed. But this is the headline that people are going to read. This is the headline that people are going to screenshot and post on Twitter, post on Facebook, et cetera, et cetera. So this is make sure y'all can read this. Let me zoom in a little bit. An Israeli hostage released by Hamas has described her ordeal after she was kidnapped by a gunman and taken into a tunnel system in Gaza during the Palestinian militant group's deadly assault in Israel on October 7th, saying, "I went through hell." See, once again, making it seem as if her being held captive is what it was. It's her name is Yocheved Lifshitz, a frail 85-year-old grandmother who was one of the two hostages released by Hamas on Monday, recounted the moment that militants snatched her from her home in the kibbutz of Nir Oz and drove her away on a motorbike towards Gaza, a painful act during which she said she was beaten and sustained bruises, allegedly. That part was actually never quoted, by the way. It says, Lippis says she was forced to walk on wet ground and descended into an underground tunnel system she likened to a spider web, where she was greeted by people who told us we believe in the Quran and promised not to harm her and her fellow hostages. It says Liffit's daughter, Sharon, who helped convey her mother's comments to reporters outside the hospital in Tel Aviv on Tuesday, called it a huge network of tunnels. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Lifford said she was initially grouped together with 25 other people before her captors separated her into a smaller group with 4 individuals from her kibbutz. So basically, that's like her neighborhood, people that she would be familiar with. It's usually not what evildoers would do, but this is what's happening. It says that she said she slept on a mattress on the floor of the tunnels, ate the same food as the Hamas fighters, and received regular treatment from doctors during her incarceration. She said they really took care of the sanitary side of things so that we didn't get sick. So evildoers. Each of the 5 hostages in her group received their own doctor, and there was a paramedic present who supervised medication. First of all, let me just say something. I don't know about y'all, but the craziest thing I just heard out of all this is that basically, if you're captured by Hamas, you might actually get better health care than in the U.S. I know that ain't funny, but Lord, baby Jesus. Duh. Bro, I can't get one doctor to see me in a month, but they got 5 individual doctors assigned to all of them with a supervisor to make sure that everyone got their medication. How do y'all even get medication? But that's a different conversation for a different day. But she goes on to say, they were very generous to us, very kind. They kept us clean. They took care of every detail. There are a lot of women, and they know about feminine hygiene. They took care of everything there. Here is what the headline should have said. I think that most of you will probably agree with this. Lifshitz also accused the Israel Defense Forces, so she accused the IDF and Shin Bet intelligence service of not taking the threats from Hamas seriously and said the costly Gaza border fence erected by Israel had done nothing to protect her community from Hamas's attack. The lack of awareness by Shin Bet and the IDF hurt us a lot, she stressed. They warned us 3 weeks beforehand. They burned fields. They sent fire balloons. And the IDF didn't treat it seriously, she continued. Lifshitz explained how this culminated in the attack on Nir Oz in southern Israel on October 7th. All of a sudden, on Saturday morning, everything was very quiet. There was a hard pounding on the settlement, Lifshitz said. And not long after, hordes of Hamas fighters broke through the kibbutz, expensive fences, and kept coming in droves, she said. It was very difficult, very unpleasant, and she was visibly upset, she added. As she concluded her remarks, Sharon said her mother's feeling was, the story is not over until everyone comes back. So, I can't believe that out of everything that was said in the article, first of all, I was even kind of surprised at how well she was taken care of. So let me just say that. I was kind of surprised by that. Not necessarily because I believe like Hamas had bad intentions for her, but mostly just because it's hard to take care of somebody under those circumstances, and it's hard for you to prioritize taking care of prisoners when you're busy trying to just survive and get by. I think that everybody would agree with that. But the fact that she was well taken care of is almost the secondary. She's admitting that it was the IDF's fault that they were attacked. She's admitting Israel let Israel down. She's admitting that there were warnings on warnings on warnings. And it's basically as if Israel didn't care. Y'all don't think that's worth the headline? I mean, we've been pitched this idea that Palestine has been treating these Israeli prisoners horribly. And I've seen, this isn't the only occasion I've seen that they've actually said that that they've been treated well. There was a woman who went on the radio. I wish I could remember her name. Don't quote me on it, but she went on the radio. It was in Hebrew, but it was translated, where she was like, oh, actually, they treated us really well. I don't know where everybody's getting that from. She's like, yeah, it sucked being taken prisoner, but they didn't treat us badly at all. Like, that's crazy. But I would assume, because we've been hearing this narrative over and over again, that Israel was caught off guard. And it does beg the question, like, why did they, quote unquote, ignore the warning signs? Why weren't their responses? She's saying like, we even knew that something was coming. This 85-year-old woman is saying this. So then it goes back to the question that a lot of people have. Did they let this happen? And if so, why isn't this a bigger story? If somebody asks, why would an 80-year-old woman require feminine hygiene? Bro, I don't even know how to. Yeah, that's still, yeah, even when you're 80, you're still a woman. There's womanly things you got to deal with. Look, I'm not gonna have that conversation with you here on the stream. We can talk about that later. But it does lead one to believe that they either were unwillfully blind and their intelligence is trash, or they were willfully blind. They ignored all the signs, and they had always intended on using this event to do what they're doing, which is effectively wipe out Gaza. We're going to check out an article that the Gray Zone just put out, laying out this plan. But please correct me if I'm wrong. Please, shouldn't this headline I mean, yeah, you could talk about, yeah, like she was treated well by Hamas. That's a decent headline, I guess. But shouldn't the headline really be like, yeah, a hostage is blaming the IDF for ignoring all the signs? She is putting the lives of those who died and the hostages of those who are now in the hands of Hamas. She's putting all that on the IDF and their intelligence. So in other words, the government of Israel. How is that not the headline? That's crazy. I mean, and it also validates what a lot of people have been speculating, which is Israel probably allowed this to happen. Or once again, there's the other side. Israel's full of shit. They actually have shitty intelligence. They have no idea what they're doing, and that's why they're scared to do a ground invasion. There's that possibility too. And unfortunately, it's probably just as realistic. I also want to talk about the fact that, like I said in the video, there's not really, you don't want innocent people being kidnapped or held hostage. You don't want that in any situation, under any circumstances. However, I'm not naive. I understand how war works. And that's why it's just important that we cover the stories as they are rather than as we want them to be. Hamas did take hostages that day. That's just a fact, right? However, Israel has 10,000 Palestinians. It's like over 10,000 Palestinians. This is a fact. At least 5,000 of those Palestinians, at least 5,000 of them, were held hostage long before October 7th ever happened. How many calls have you seen from the mainstream media to ask Israel to engage in good faith diplomatic negotiations for fair and even hostage exchanges so that everyone can feel a little bit more secure that their loved ones will return home safely on both sides? How many calls from the mainstream media have you seen? Hey, if you have these hostages and you can negotiate, like, damn the rockets, let's save lives. We have an opportunity to save lives. Why haven't you seen pressure being put on Israel to release hostages like you've seen the pressure be put on Hamas to release hostages? And why has there been literally verifiable lies being put out about how the hostages have been treated in Palestine? But we haven't even heard so much as an inquiry about how Palestinian hostages are being treated. And let's be honest, if these videos that we've seen, if the indiscriminate bombing of civilians is any indication of how Palestinians are being treated by Israel when they're taking hostage, it's not looking good. I doubt that you want to hear those stories about how well they were treated, about how they were given beds, how they were given the same food as the soldiers, how they were given medicine. And what's crazy about this is you can tell when you're reading this, CNN wanted to spin this so badly. They wanted to spin this so badly, and they couldn't do it. So I want to hear the stories from the hostages coming from the other side. That's what I want to hear. And better yet, once again, I want to know why those hostages aren't being discussed. Because the truth of it is, Max Blumenthal actually talked about this too. He discussed it on Tim Pool's show. He was saying, like, bro, like, y'all don't understand, like, there is no bargaining chip that Palestine has when it comes to Israel. That's the thing. So the only bargaining chip that you could possibly have in this particular situation are hostages. And all they really want is to actually just get those Palestinians back. That's the only reason they took any hostages. That's the only bargaining chip they have to get kids, moms, son, like, back in Palestine, back in Gaza. The difference is, to my knowledge, Palestine and Hamas, they don't have a doctrine or a military strategy of letting their hostages get killed or shooting their own hostages for that matter. Which, by the way, the hostage that was on the radio, the Israeli hostage, the young woman who was on the radio, she came out and said that the IDF was killing Israeli hostages, which falls in line with their policy of not allowing other soldiers to fall in the hands of Hamas. They would rather kill them. So not only is Israel willing to kill civilians, but they're also even willing to kill their own people. Like, what? We have to have, like, this is what I'm talking about, bro. Like, what? How do you make this headline? They actually changed it to something else earlier. Then I guess they changed it back after they got called out again. But how do you make this headline? Literally, she says it right here. She's like, she went through hell, but she was talking about the initial event, which I would agree. That's terrifying. That's traumatic. Watching your community, your kibbutz be invaded like that, that's like a traumatic experience. Absolutely. There's no denying that at all. But that's what she was talking about. She was not talking about her experience as a prisoner. And you would think that this would be considered a good sign. If you had lost a loved one, you know that they're a prisoner. Like, I would actually probably be like, oh, thank God. This is news that people should know about, that their loved ones actually they're being taken care of and they have a chance to be returned home. That's good news. But then what happens is, if you hear this and then you find out from the Israeli government, well, yeah, we know they're alive. We don't even know they're being treated well. And we know that they want to exchange prisoners. And that's how we'll get your loved ones back. But yeah, that ain't happening. You would begin to see too many Israelis putting pressure on the Israeli government to start exchanging prisoners so they can get their loved ones back. So while this part is speculative, but I can imagine Hamas is probably trying to get in touch with people and let them get in touch with their families to let them know, or get in touch with the Israeli government to let them know who they have. But I guarantee you the Israeli government, for the most part, is not contacting those families because they don't want that public pressure. A lot of prisoners, like in this particular case, there was no exchange from everything I've read. It was just, she's older. She needed to be in a healthier, more secure environment for her health, and they released her. But I guarantee you, I assure you, there are plenty of prisoners that Israel is not talking about to their families, not informing their families about, and they don't plan on exchanging them. That's the problem, and they don't want the public pressure. That's reality, yo. I want to, let me find this Gray Zone article. This shit. Look, Zionist think tank. Oh my, bro, I ain't got glasses. Zionist think tank publishes blueprint for Palestinian genocide. It's by Clint Clarenberg, who always does amazing work. At Israel's, save time while listening. No. As Israel's carpet bombing of Gaza entered its third week, leaving over 5,000 dead and at least 1 million residents displaced, a Tel Aviv-based think tank published a blueprint for self-proclaimed Jewish state's final solution. If you don't know, that's a reference to the guy from Germany who didn't like those people of Judea. I don't want to say his name. It might get me in trouble. So, but it's a reference to that. There we go. In a white paper released over a week ago after the Hamas-led surprise attack on Israeli military bases and kibbutzes, the Institute for National Security and Zionist Strategy outlined a plan for, quote-unquote, resettlement and final rehabilitation in Egypt of the entire population of Gaza, based on the unique and rare opportunity to evacuate the entire Gaza Strip. That's Israel's latest assault on the besieged coastal enclave provided. Published in Hebrew, the organization's website, on the organization's website, the paper was authored by Amir Whitman, an investment manager and visiting researcher at the Institute, who also leads the Libertarian Caucus of Israel's ruling Likud party. The document began by noting that there are 10 million vacant housing units in neighboring Egypt that could immediately be filled with Palestinians. Whiteman then assured readers that the sustainable plan aligns Sustainable plan aligns well with the economic and geopolitical interests of the state of Israel, Egypt, and the USA, and Saudi Arabia. What? What about Palestinians? Also, it's just really weird to me that all of a sudden you have all these people arguing for open borders. Sorry, y'all not even seeing my damn screen. Give me a second. Good thing I'm such a great reader, so y'all were able to hear all that. What? So you're just going to decide to take people out of their homes and basically demand that Egypt take in a group of refugees. And I don't know if y'all know this, but as I don't actually know the history as to why this is the case. But Egyptians and Palestinians actually don't get along all that well. It's a thing. It's been a thing. I don't know why, but that's just how it is, unfortunately. Like the idea that because two people are Arab and two people share the same religion, that means that you should be responsible when the other one is displaced that's racist. I don't know what else to call that. That is disgusting. That's a disgusting mindset. That's crazy. Egypt already doesn't have the most stable economy. And you can partially blame the US for that, but they already don't have the most stable economy. Hell, half the time their leadership isn't even stable. Their interests are constantly in flux. Once again, partially because of the US. Why should it be left up to Israel to assume the responsibility for displaced Palestinians instead of the international community assuming responsibility for holding Israel accountable for genocide? You know, people have been saying since this whole situation started, and you see the videos coming out, and they're I can't even, you know what? I keep saying they are indiscriminately bombing civilians. That is a mischaracterization of what we've been seeing. They are absolutely 100% discriminately, with prejudice, bombing civilians. They're targeting civilians. They're literally telling civilians to get in the car, right down the road, the only road that they know they can escape on, and they're bombing them while they're escaping. They're bombing bakeries. They're bombing hospitals. They just bombed a Greek Orthodox church. They're bombing Christian Palestinians. They're telling them to leave and bombing civilian infrastructure because this was always the plan. And people had said from the beginning, like, this isn't about self-defense. This is the final attempt to basically clear out Gaza so that Israel can have it once and for all. Basically, that's what it. And when people are like, no, that's crazy. They're just defending themselves. I'm like, once again, it's like what we talk about with Iraq, right? How did your freedom get all the way into West Gaza? How your freedom get all the way over there? If you wouldn't have been in Gaza to begin with in that particular situation, on October 7th, then none of this would have even happened. You had an illegal settlement got invaded by residents who have always been there. Like, I don't know if you can even call it an invasion at that point. But this was always the plan, obviously. They're telling you. Like, you don't have to take my word for it, bro. They wrote an article about it. They wrote a whole piece. Like, yeah, man. So totally coincidental. This is completely unrelated to everything that's been going on. But yeah, this is a good opportunity for us to completely take Gaza and force all of the Palestinians into Egypt. Just by happenstance. I'm not saying that has anything to do with what's taking place over the last several weeks, but, good idea nonetheless. Come on, bro. This was always the plan. This is genocide. This is literally a genocide. By any definition of the word, this is a genocide. They keep blaming Hamas. Hamas isn't forcing you to bomb kids. They keep talking. So you know how they always say, oh, well, they're hiding behind these kids. They're hiding behind civilians. Okay, but y'all say all the time, oh, they have tunnels underground, right? They say Hamas is hiding in tunnels underground, which is true, probably. So why don't you send ground forces in? And also, why are you using bombs that blow up before they ever hit the ground if your goal is to attack tunnels? Anybody ever wonder about that? Like, they keep telling us Hamas is in the tunnels. So why are you using bombs that are capable of air blast? They literally explode before they even hit the ground, let alone hit a tunnel. Why are you using that? We know, because it's not about that. It's about clearing out Palestinians. It's not about finding Hamas. And to be quite frank, it never was. And then it goes back to what I've been saying. So personally, yeah, I'm sure a lot of my vets would agree with this. If you have good intel, especially if you're like special forces or something to that effect, if you have great intel, you have superior weaponry, you're better trained, you scouted the terrain well. If you're going after a very specific group, you send your best men, you use the intel that you have, you go in fast, you go in hot, you come out. You going fast, you going hot, you come out. You might lose one person, you might lose two people, but if your intel is as good as you say it is, if your equipment, your weaponry, your capability, your military capability is as vast as you claim it is, if you were as skilled as you claim you are, and if they are as weak as you say they are, because these are supposedly just a bunch of random terrorists. If that's the case, then why don't you just go in? Why haven't you started with the ground assault? Why don't you go get them? Why is it necessary for you to bomb thousands of civilians? If you're using these, oh, well, they shouldn't be hiding behind civilians. Okay. Well, you're the good guys. Go get them. If that's what you claim, go get them. But you know why they haven't gone? You know they postponed. I think they postponed the ground invasion three times, excuse me. 3 times they were supposed to start, y'all. And one of those times they didn't go in because of inclement weather. I'm gonna tell y'all a little secret. If you are trying to conduct a special operation or an invasion, I know this is gonna sound counterintuitive, but you're counting on inclement weather. I'm not joking. Like when you're training for like special forces, ranger battalion, whatever, like you're counting on inclement weather because that's supposed to give you the advantage, especially if you have the technology to traverse the terrain during inclement weather. That's supposed to be an advantage, bro. But like they use it as an excuse. So instead of showing how superior they are, they in conducting a ground invasion, they made up an excuse. They made up another excuse. They made up another excuse. And they just kept firing pop shots at civilians. That tells me that your intel is shit. First of all, which I guess we already know because of October 7th. It tells me that your intel is shit. It tells me that you're not as well trained as you thought, as people think you are. Like y'all are well trained when it comes to going after people who don't fight back. Y'all are well trained at killing civilians. Y'all are well trained at taking pop shots at people who are just protesting and have no weapons. The only weapon they might have is a fucking rock. That's what y'all are well trained in. Y'all are not trained to fight people who have the time, the intelligence, and the weaponry and the strategy to fight back. In other words, use a bunch of bitches. You're cowards. You have to launch from a distance because you are terrified of what happens when you get up close. That's what it is. So now you're willing to attack civilians and kill civilians because you, the motherfuckers with the weapons, with all the funding and all the backing of Western powers, you're a bunch of fucking cowards. That's basically what it is. You're cowards. You are terrified of the idea that you might get shot at. You're terrified of the idea that you might get exposed to the world. Imagine if, think about it like this, y'all. So you're Israel, right? I don't know if y'all know, but Israel's considered to have the best intelligence in the Middle East. But really, they're considered to be the best intelligence of the world. That's allegedly the case. So imagine that's who you're supposed to be. You get all these billions of dollars in military tech. You blow Gaza to smithereens. You call up 400,000 reservists for the IDF. And your ass walks into Gaza and gets brutalized in front of the entire world, bro. Imagine. Imagine that, bro. Imagine Lebanon looking like, hold up, I need y'all to see my face. Imagine Lebanon being like, interesting. Syria, interesting. And Iran, they gonna be looking like this. Iran gonna start rubbing their hands like Birdman. Cause if they go in there, they know that if they start this ground assault and they go in there and they get their asses handed to them by a bunch of randos using hand-me-down weapons with limited tech, that's a can of worms that they don't want to open. Of course, that could then lead to obviously the U.S. getting more involved, but that's a tightrope that you're walking if you're Israel. Because if the U.S. continues to escalate, Iran is going to be looking like, all right, now keep sending them over if you want to. That's exactly what's going to happen. So I was on the Syrian analysis yesterday with Kavort, and he actually told me something that I had not been aware of, that there are reports saying that part of the reason Israel was unaware of what happened on October 7th is because they're used to tracking. So a lot of the Hamas technology, military technology, is repurposed from Israel's tech. So they can track it. Israel can track it. They know what it's capable of, when it's being used, et cetera, et cetera. So they can usually predict when something's going to happen. But allegedly, there have been reports coming out that China actually helped to provide some of the tech to Hamas. And that's why Israel was unprepared for what happened. Or at least the scale of what happened, allegedly. But that might almost seem hard to believe, right? Until you find out that out of nowhere, China decides to send ships to the region. It's like, what? For why? Why would China do that? Think about it. We know that China isn't giving any, as far as we know right now, China hasn't given any military aid to Israel since this conflict started. This rumor comes out that China helped Hamas in this particular case. Allegedly, at least provided technology, I should say. And now we're finding out that China is sending their ships to the region. Who do you think that they're going for? So now, if you're Israel, think about this. Not only was I outmatched, not only could I be outgunned, they don't know. But part of the reason you're probably postponing the ground invasion is because you're finding out in real time. You thought you knew who was aligned with Palestine, what countries were aligned with Palestine, what superpowers were aligned with Palestine. You thought you knew, and now you're finding out in real time that you actually never knew. You don't know. And if you make the wrong move, shit can get ugly and you don't even know who you're fighting. Your soldiers would be going into a battle fighting people that they were not trained to deal with, against technology they weren't trained to fight. I want to be clear. The IDF is trained to fight people that can't fight back. That's facts. IDF is trained to fight people who can't fight back. That's not China. It's damn sure not Iran. They can take pop shots at Syria, but that's about where that stops. They'll never go into Syria. So they have no idea how many talks have been going on behind the scenes and who Palestine is aligned with. And you don't really know who your allies are until you hit like a critical mass, like a breaking point. And if U.S. troops touch that ground, and then that ground invasion proceeds, that might be the point. Oh, by the way, Russia also sent ships with hypersonic missiles that can hit any U.S. aircraft carrier in 5 minutes. They made that very clear. So because apparently the U.S. is allegedly gearing up to try and use this opportunity to take out Assad again. So if they try anything, even Russia's coming. And obviously at that point, there will have to be sides picked because Israel has been bombed. So if Russia is protecting Syria, Israel continues to bomb Syria, but the U.S. then also tries to bomb Syria, and China's there. Who do y'all think is going to align with who, bro? They didn't make up this super cool BRICS acronym for nothing. You know what I'm saying? The world is getting tired of the Western hegemony. They're getting tired of it, bro. This in Palestine, and I'll say this before I go. Palestine is not, I don't think that they're laying down this time, because then it's like all those deaths were for nothing. Right? That's what it is. I think I don't see this cooling down anytime soon, because Israel's just been exposed to the world in a way that I don't think, like I said, as crazy as it sounds, we're winning the information war. We've really never had this. We've never seen so many accounts banned, suspended, demonetized, shadow banned, censored, whatever. We've never seen this many accounts censored because of Israel. People either stay quiet, or CNN and MSNBC and Fox News and all the talking heads had so much control over that narrative that people like myself were never deemed to be a threat. Or if you were like maybe like Sarah or Richard Medhurst, who lives overseas, like they're like, yeah, that's over there, man. Like, we're not worried about y'all. As long as the American public is on the same page. Maybe the UK, Europe, whatever. As long as they're on the same page. But for the first time, we actually see people being like, hold the fuck up. This is crazy. Israel's wilding. What the hell's up with these killing all these civilians? And why have we been lied to for the last, I don't know, 70 plus years? There's no going back now. They have to complete the mission. Either side. And I'm curious. I know Israel is claiming, they're acting like Egypt is perfectly fine with taking responsibilities for these refugees. Who said that? How do y'all know that Egypt isn't biding its time? Waiting for y'all to overextend and waiting for the US to overextend. How do y'all know that's not what's happening? The US and even Israel to some degree, they always think about right now. They think their military strategy and their international strategy always relies on what's happening today. It's never a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years from now. That's the only reason that you try this whole Ukraine situation. Then you're utterly embarrassed by Russia, and the economy of the entire world is in disarray, except for Russia, because Russia planned 10 years in advance, and the U.S. plans for tomorrow, or rather the next quarter, the next financial quarter. Other countries have to plan in advance because they are fully aware of how crazy and psychotic the U.S. is when it comes to foreign policy. And many of them are playing the long game, have been playing the long game. So, yes, ma'am. No, yeah, I am, but what's up? You looking for Dave? Oh, okay, thank you. So whoever asked me what I'm having for dinner, I'm about to have dinner in a second. Yeah, y'all. They play the long game. So who said that Egypt isn't waiting for Israel to overextend? Israel has never had to actually fight motherfuckers who want to fight back. It's not gonna be pretty, y'all. It's not. I promise you. So keep exposing a lot. I want to show y'all one more video actually before we go. This one low key had me hot, dog. It had me so heated. I can't even lie. Because like the Israelis keep playing victim. They keep playing victim like, oh my God, we're so terrified. We have to protect ourselves. Everything is self-defense. It's self-defense. No. I'm going to show y'all this last video. We're going to get up out of here. Eventually it's going to load.
Hundredth child blown to bits in Palestine, I decided to check out the location tag of Tel Aviv on Instagram just to see what the people of Israel were dealing with. And the
Y'all can hear it,
results
right?
were
If you can't hear it, let me know.
quite
But I think y'all can hear it.
telling. As you can see, they're hanging out, they're taking selfies, they're ordering sushi. This beach, they're having little performances in boutique hotels. I was genuinely shocked by what I saw, and you can go look too. Go look at Tel Aviv's location right now, and watch all the stories of people. It's really,
Terrifying.
really shocking to see it in comparison with what is coming out on the ground from Gaza, 40 miles away. And,
40
you
miles
know,
away,
people
bro.
will have you thinking that this is a war between two equal parties, but
fear,
this
like,
is colonialism. You're
see that they're
looking at
holding
it
back
right
the
now.
tears.
Everyone seems to be having a great time while there's a genocide happening 40 miles away from them.
That's what propaganda does, man. Right? There are people who think that these are the ones who are the victims. Think about it. There are people who believe that the U.S. was the victim in Iraq. Like, there's hundreds of thousands of Iraqis dying, and we're out here living our best lives, and people still thought that somehow we were the victims. It's the same shit. They're 40 miles away, and they don't feel an ounce of fear because they know that they're insulated. That's bully shit, right? So, thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of For the People podcast. Make sure I like this video. Make sure I share this video. The Telegram link is in the description. I'm shadow banned on Twitter right now. So like that, y'all might see my stuff, y'all might not. But if you go to Telegram, that's the best way to ensure that you see everything. Let's pray that I do not get banned off of YouTube. Like I said, the whole reason I went through all this effort to not mention Israel and Palestine in the first 5 minutes or in my titles, so I don't get banned. But follow me on Rockfin. Matter of fact, let me make sure I have my Rockfin page before y'all go, because a lot of the times when I stream on here, it will be on Rockfin if I'm talking specifically about Israel and Palestine. I'm going to post the link in the comments. Boom, boom. Bong, bong. I am on Rumble too. I'm still trying to figure out sometimes my Rumble stream will start and sometimes it doesn't. I'm trying to figure out why it is. But primarily I'll be on Rockfin, sometimes Rumble. But I am on Rumble too. So we got to speak in code again like the 70s. Yeah, actually. You're exactly right. But yeah, people, follow us there. You can support us, support the show on Patreon, of course. You know, we're not monetized on YouTube. You can support the show also by becoming a premium subscriber on Rockfin. Super cheap, $9 a month. Or you can send money through Cash App, my Bitcoin address, my Ethereum address. Yeah, that's about it, man. I appreciate you guys. Always remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.